Grand Rising, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to the first of the live discussions this 2021 on female genital mutilation and its harmful effects. Some of you may have caught the mini series or pilot series we did in 2020, and given the uptake and demand and the need to get this information out, this is now a regular fixture. So thank you all for the support and engaging with us on this very important topic. So my name is Angela Asante-Armar, streaming live from Ghana on behalf of Global Pan-Africanism Network and Power to Our Mothers Foundation Africa, and also GPAN Queens Club. I have the honor of being joined by some amazing women. My co-host, Najar Nyakio, who is a land environmentalist and an African Wombman advocate, among many other things. And we today are joined by our guest, who you may have seen last year, Maryam Sheikh, who is going to share with us her personal story of her experience with female genital mutilation. But first, let me invite my co-host to greet you, Sister Najar. And greetings, Janet Beth.
Greetings, everybody. It is so nice to be here. I think I'm having a little bit of a technical issue, so if I keep going in and out, rest assured that I'll come back in. So peace and love to everybody. I'm so excited to be here to talk about FGM, also known as female genital mutilation. It has been a conversation which I have been having for a long time with different women, and with Queen Angela, we have managed to set up this wonderful live space where we can talk about it as women. And I'm glad that this show is continuing, because it is something which we must listen to, we must discuss, because it is not part of our culture. Yeah, and there are so many women who are traumatized across the world because of going through FGM. And there's so many misunderstandings. So I'm so glad that we are in a space where we can, in 2021, begin to clear up the misunderstandings and give women a chance to talk about their bodies in a safe space, without criticism, and to begin healing ourselves as women, both those who have undergone the mutilation and mothers who may be thinking about it for their daughters, and the different implications. So I'm so glad to be here, Angela. Thank you so much. And we're here also with Maryam, and Maryam has been an advocate for FGM for such a long time, and I just want to listen to her story. So can we get this on the road?
Okay. And before we get on the road, I want to just welcome everybody joining. And I am pleased to see that there are some men joining as well, because this is information they probably would not have heard as well. So share it with a woman in your life. Sister Maryam, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Please do greet our viewers. Tell us a little bit about yourself before you share your personal story with us.
Good morning, everyone. It's morning for me from here, St. John's, Newfoundland, Canada. Happy New Year. I hope you are blessed wherever you are. I know for some of you it is daytime, it's evening, it is afternoon. My name is Maryam Sheikh Abdikadiir. I am from Kenya. I am a mother of two, and I have been a long-standing advocate for the abandonment of female genital mutilation, and therefore I have also worked so much on violence against women and children in general. But other than that, I am a child of two worlds. I call myself. I am so lucky. I led a very typical nomadic lifestyle, village life. So, like I know my culture in and out. And so, when we discuss FGM, you cannot miss to go back to the language, to the sayings, to the stories, to the narratives. And you have to be able to understand a community from where they're coming from, so that you're able to unearth and unpack as it is. So I usually say I am this woman who might be living in a city, life on the fast lane and everything, but the mind is still out there in the village, and really thinking about how to create a difference in whichever way. And I am so lucky. My journey has been very eventful, I would say, and very, very blessed. So maybe one day when we begin to talk about where we are and how we came in, not just about FGM, we will all see that we have gems and diamonds to really share with the world. So I just look forward to sharing this particular story of mine. But my stories are so many. So thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Angela, for starting this platform. Thank you everyone who's joining. And for the men I was seeing, I'm from Dar es Salaam, joining in from, I really like that, because we need our brothers. We need our brothers in this fight, in this, if we are to really get make an inroad into ending FGM for girls. FGM is child abuse. Take it whichever way you want to take it, it is child abuse. So if we are to stop this child abuse, we need everyone on board. And yes, our brothers especially, I'm very happy to see them. And the sisters, I don't want to forget you. So thank you so much. I just look forward to sharing this story and to tell everyone who is here what my journey has been on this.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, sister. And welcome to everybody joining. Please just let us know where you're joining from, and let us know if you have questions about female genital mutilation, and we will try and answer that perhaps as we go through. But perhaps we can start with maybe the basics of what female genital mutilation is. And then Sister Najar, would you like to do that? And then we can ask Sister Maryam to continue with her story about going through the practice. So I'm just asking Sister Najar just to maybe tell the audience, recap basically what female genital mutilation is.
We can't hear her.
It's okay.
Okay.
She's on.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we can, Queen.
Okay. Female genital mutilation is when the female reproductive parts are cut. And there's a whole history behind it, and during the last sessions we explained that it is not an African culture. It is something which was given to us about 2,500 years ago. So we can say that it is a part of a culture now that we have practiced it for that long time, but it did not originate from us. And the it began from the selling of male and female children for slavery. And the reason why they had this idea of mutilating was because they needed servants for life, slaves for life, and they did not want these servants and to have to reproduce. Unfortunately, it is still practiced in the same communities today where we as a people suffered from the effects of this Roman slavery, okay? And anyone who is watching this right now and they're trying to get their head around this information, like Angela said, we have been discussing this, and the video links are there, so you can go back and catch up, so to speak, with what we spoke about. So this castration of our children was for both the males and the females. During the turn of this century, we as Africans stopped castrating our males, but we still castrate the females, and it is called FGM.
Thank you, Sister Najar. Thank you. I think that sets us up nicely for Sister Maryam to now please to share with us, with the audience, her experience of having undergone this practice.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Najar, for that history. And I think maybe it will also be just for the audience to add that today when they Google FGM, of course, they'll come across the WHO definitions and the information that is out there. So they'll get to know that there are 4 different types of FGM. And FGM sometimes is called female genital mutilation, stroke cutting, because there are a lot of terminology is very, very crucial when we discuss this practice. But by and large, this is mutilation, because medically, when you cut healthy organs and you get rid of body parts, that is mutilation. I know in the communities, the term and the name they call it is female circumcision, but you cannot call what happens to the women circumcision. It is not circumcision, it is mutilation. So we need to always be aware of these different terminologies. So I want to take you on a journey from wherever you are to a place called Saka Janai. It's called Saka, the paradise. It is in a county called Garissa, in the country called Kenya, and in the continent called Africa. That is where I grew up. I went there when I was 5 years old. And I was taken in to go and live with my cousin. We have this habit of giving your children to relatives. So I was given to my cousin to be able to help her with her household work. Luckily for me, she decided to take me to school. But just like she did not need to get permission to feed me, to clothe me, she didn't need any permission to take me through female genital mutilation. And so I was cut when I was 6 years old. I will tell you that it was something I looked forward to. It is that deep, it is that brainwashing, it is that indoctrinating. You look forward to it. It's like being told Eid is coming or Christmas is coming and you're going to be bought a dress, and you look forward to that. Yes, you're told it's painful. Definitely, when even today we say it was painful, it was a painful ordeal, we can never ever be able to paint that pain. So nobody could have prepared me enough for what it actually entailed. But I was told it is painful, but you know what? There was always a rider. It's only the brave who can withstand it. So as a 6-year-old, you're beginning to negotiate with yourself. Can I show my bravery just this once and withstand? You really do not know what awaits you there. So it was an ordinary day, an ordinary morning. We woke up very early. They have always to do it very early, just like when they are removing the teeth. There's this belief that when the blood is still asleep, that's actually how it is said. So literally, when your blood is still asleep, and that's either when they remove your teeth, or if it is FGM, that's when they do it. So very, very early in the morning, we were taken in this place, village where we lived. The river, the biggest river, Tana River, passes. So we were taken towards the river in the forest, very tall acacia trees. I still know where that spot is. And maybe one day I'll stand there and come on live from there and tell you guys, hey, here it is, because it's something that I never forget. So we were 6 of us, and I was the last among the 6. I listened to the girls as they wailed. That's all I could hear, the wailing. And when eventually it was my turn, what I always tell people is, apart from the cutting and the pain, it's just the name calling, the ridicule, everything that goes. Nobody documents these things. It's just an ordeal for a 6-year-old. So I remember being stripped by this woman and say, hey, this is when you have to show how brave you are. You who doesn't even allow a thorn to be removed from your feet. Because we were living in a place that had a lot of acacia. So being pricked by a thorn and having a thorn on your foot was like very common. So she was like, you who doesn't even allow for a thorn to be removed from your, this is when you have to show. Anyway, I was held apart by 4 women. And there was, first of all, a woman who sat, and I had to sit in between her legs. So she was holding my torso, then my hands and my legs. And so I was stretched apart, and the cutting began. If you Google a poem called The Cat by Maryam Sheikh, I tried writing that experience in that poem. And maybe it can give you a better picture as you read it, or maybe it can make you understand more after you listen to the story. So the cutter began cutting. And all I can tell you is, it's an ordeal I don't forget. To date, I remember I didn't think I'll be emotional. I don't know why. Yeah. So to date, I remember. Yeah, I remember the sound of the razor. You know, I remember that. I remember the pain. I remember the smell of blood. So whenever I smell blood, even now, that's where my mind goes back to. That very spot. And then I remember the aftermath. After being cut, of course, it's not something that as I said, in no words of saying, it was horrendous. It was enormous. It was excruciating. It was the most painful thing. I mean, I don't think these words are able to even paint how painful that is. So I don't have any other English words of saying it. But the aftermath, and I want everyone here to really think about, if a razor cuts you or a knife cuts you, I think each of us have had that experience. There's that very sharp pain at first, but once you stay a little bit, a few seconds, once the nerves begin to pick, it really begins to throb, and it's painful and it's burning, you know. Now you can imagine in that very sensitive genitalia, when they are removing the clitoris, because my community does the worst type of female genital mutilation. We do type 3. They remove the clitoris, the whole of it. And they cut the labia minora, all of them. Then they cut part of the labia majora, so that they have wounds on both ends. and then they can close your legs together for 2 weeks. Guys and girls who are here, if you have wound on both your hands and you tie them together, definitely they'll heal together. That is what they are looking for, so that these the big lips heal together and form a covering over the vulva. It's called infibulation. So when you read about infibulation, that is what it is. It's the bringing together of the two labias, the big lips, as some people call them, and close up. So you are all closed. In the olden days, what they used to do is, and I think my grandmother's time, or maybe my mom, I've never been able to ask my mom how her FGM was, because it's one of the thorny issues between us. She has never understood why I have chosen this path. So it's not an easy conversation to have, and definitely she wouldn't even answer me if I asked her. But in the olden days, what they used to do is they used to literally stitch, so that the two lips close. And they say they used to use the hairs from the giraffe tail. Then there was an uprising. There was a talk among the religious scholars. And this is not even documented, honestly, unfortunately. So they say, they told the women, the girls you are stitching, you're going to be answerable for the stitching in the hereafter. God is going to question you why you have stitched these girls. Well, the reason for this stitching or the infibulation is basically because the society, the community believes that there's this valuable physical virginity that is inside there, and it needs to be protected. Just like when you're going out to the market, you have to close your house door. You have to lock the door to your house. That's the thing. In fact, when you ask them even now and you do research, they'll tell you, you can't have your valuables in the house and leave the door open. So this is why they wanted this closure of the two lips. So when the women were told, you will be answerable why you are closing the place God opened, what they did is they dropped the literal stitching. And they came up with this clever way of infibulating without stitching. That is what I went through. I was infibulated from top to down, closed, everything was closed, because when they cut part of my labia majora and closed my legs for 2 weeks, the wounds healed together and formed that covering. Now, because nobody does this literal stitching, the belief in the community is they're doing a mild cut, which is Islamic. Because one of the reasons they'll give you on your face is, we are doing this thing because it's Islamic, but it has nothing to do with any religion. FGM is done by Christians, by Muslims, by animists, by anybody. It is in 92 countries as we speak. It is not African. It is not any other communities. So it's a lie. But when something is presented as religious, we all know religion is emotive. It is one of the easiest things to harness people, to hold people in captivity, so to speak. So this is why this practice in my community still exists to date, because of this covering. It's like the gift wrap that it is done, it's wrapped, and it's not easy. So anyway, there is the aftermath, I don't also forget. It's called hamfafa. Once the nerves picked, you can imagine that wound, and then the nerves picking. Oh my God. I couldn't sit still. I was moving and crying and biting my hands and biting my clothes, and I was shaking. I remember that I was shaking. And that's shock, because I must have been losing blood. And at some point in the process, before it was even finished, there was a moment I had blackout and I couldn't breathe, because I was wriggling so much. And this woman said, hold her down. And another woman came, like, remember I told you a woman was holding me like this and my lips were all held? Someone else came to hold me from the top, and they didn't realize that she was covering my nose. And I couldn't breathe. So I also remember that painful gasping for air. I was gasping for air. I even fainted. And to date, the story is this such a coward. She fainted in the process. I fainted because somebody was choking me, you know. I could have also fainted because I lost a lot of blood. I could have fainted but this is what they say. But anyway, with the moment I came back, I don't know how long it was. To me, it seemed like it was eternity. I wished when I woke up, I wished I just slept and never woke up to that ordeal. So I woke up to this this pain. Once the nerves picked, it's the thing that gives me goosebumps. Even up to today, whenever I recall, it gives me goosebumps. So then we were tied. Of course, they had to put paste. They had to paste it with a lot of herbs here and there. They tied us from the thighs to the toes. Basically, you are tied. Maybe Angela, I'll share with you a photo, and maybe later you can maybe post for people to see from the thigh to the toes. You know, like with camel hide. So they tie and then takes. So it's like you have this crisscrossing of rope across. So you're basically this is straight. So when you have to pee, it is on the side. That was again the most painful thing I remember. You can imagine the wound I just described, and urine, as we know, being acidic, and now being poured on that wound. And believe me, you know, the urethra we know is up there. So once the urine jets out, it first of all hits this wall of wound and drops down that wall. Burns for hours on end. And you know, it's trickling slowly because it can't get out as forcefully as it used to be. So your urine trickles down slowly. You can imagine lying on your side and being told to pee. It's very uncomfortable for anyone, least of all for a young girl whose genitals have been mutilated. So many girls, that's where they have urine retention and they hold it back, and all the other problems that we mentioned when we discussed urine, the problem from female genital mutilation. So that was the other thing. And then the women took part in showing us how to stand and how to walk. It is not walking, you slide because your toes are tied. So you slide your feet like this, just up to where this string or rope allows, the rope on your two big toes. So you slide and then you slide and then you slide. So we were not very far away from home, but the journey would begin like from 4 p.m. and end at 7, like 3 hours. You're just sliding and sliding and sliding. And even if a thorn, okay. I could see your hand up.
Yeah, Queen Najar, did you want to say something? Just trying to unmute yourself.
What I want to ask is that you're saying that after this ordeal, on the same day, you had to walk home?
Oh, wow.
The same day?
And every other day, the same evening, and then very early the next morning for the next 2 weeks. That was my journey. Every evening you're sliding.
They don't carry you, they make you walk.
There's no carrying. You're given a stick and you're shown what to do. So you can imagine the pain because they have tied you. And again, you're not supposed to move anything. You're not supposed to bend. If a thorn pricks you, don't bend to remove because it is going to open up the place. And the cutter will be called back to do her work again, to cut you afresh.
Okay. Yeah, there is a lot. So like you said, so the day or from the moment that you are cut, from that time, and they tie you, like your legs are straight, from that very time, you have to walk like everywhere.
No, you don't walk everywhere. So during the day, we stay out in the bush. So we were we went there early in the morning, let's say before 6, it must have been around 5, because I remember the birds just waking up. These are the sounds I remember. The birds just waking up, being very chilly, the sun trying to break through. This is what I recall of that day. So it must have been around 5 in the morning. So we stayed there in the bush until 4 p.m. later in the afternoon. So we started now sliding back home in the afternoon. So we'll spend the night, and then very early in the next morning, again, we have to do the journey back to the bush. So we stay the whole day in the bush.
Why do you have to, sorry, unless I missed something, why do you have to go back to the bush?
That is where they wanted us to stay and heal away from, they claimed, I'm sure times have changed. This I'm talking about 40 plus years ago. So they wanted us to stay out in the fresh air. They didn't want us to be like, be in this place where we are seen by different people with different scents and different food scents and name it. So they wanted us to stay out in the bush for the fresh air. That was my time. It doesn't mean it's still happening, but I don't know, out there in the bush, maybe it still happens. Yeah.
Fair enough. Can I just take a moment to ask somebody, ask a question? A brother actually just wanted to clarify. I don't know the answer. He was saying that, sorry, my screen is frozen. I can't put the comment. Oh, there's the comment. He wants to understand that in some cultures, they elongate the clitoris. And so he wants to properly understand that even that practice of elongating the clitoris, does that technically count as FGM, or that's something altogether different?
That's why I said if you Google today about FGM, you'll find there are 4 types. So there are 3 types that involve cutting. There's a type that just involves cutting anything around the clitoris, a bit of it or all of it. That's called type 1. Then there's type 2, which is the whole of the clitoris and part or all of the labia minora. That's type 2. Then type 3, which I just described, which is cutting everything and then doing the infibulation. Then there is type 4, which does not involve any cutting, but involves everything else that actually interfere with the natural formation of the genitalia. So pulling, piercing, putting rings, putting dry herbs, slicing. This is what is called type 4. So when you look at type 4, it is a salad bowl of so many different things that does not involve cutting. Okay. Yeah, so elongation is considered female genital mutilation. It is actually interfering with the natural formation of the genitalia.
Queen Najar, go ahead, please.
Yeah, there's also burning, because they do burn as well.
Yeah, it's cool, yeah. And then others put herbs, because from when the girl is young, they imagine dry sex is interesting. So from when you're small, this place has to be made dry for the man who will marry you, to make sex interesting and sweet for him. I mean, it's all the crazy things that go on. So yeah, that's type 4.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, okay. No, please.
So I showed you how we work. So that was our journey. And then we were not being fed on anything heavy. We were taking very slight sips of water, because they didn't want us to pee all the time. Because the more this place gets wet, maybe there would be infection and the wound will not heal together properly. And they didn't also give us anything that would make us go for long haul. You can imagine if you are that tired, if peeing is that problematic, how does somebody even push anything? So we were not given any food for that 2 weeks, any food that was going to make us. So after some few days is when you're given, and the water is sips, not, so I always recall the thirst I had. And Nyakio, we were very close to the river, and so the wind was carrying the water of the river, so you even get more thirsty. I mean, you're just smelling the water all the time, so it makes your thirst more real. And so these are the ordeals, the punishments I call. you're seated there, you can't move, and then you're so thirsty. Nobody wants to give you water because they think it's gonna open that place. So everything, every reference was this scary do's and don'ts. You know, if you do this, the kata will be called back. If you do this, so we stayed on for 2 weeks, and the kata was called to come and inspect. It was again the most scary day, because if you have not like healed together properly and the infibulation is not like sewn together, then there is it will be repeated. And so there was one unlucky girl among us. They had to do everything all over again. So what they do that time is scrap again. They'll have to scrap afresh, cut the inside of the labia majora. That's what they have to do, because they've already cut part of it. So then they have to scrap so that they have fresh wound to infibulate. But at least I was among the lucky ones. It wasn't repeated, and our hair was shaven, and I remember there was itching all the time. The skin, the rope was on my skin. I didn't realize lice had actually developed in between the skin. You know, this is camel hide, so it's from hide, and then our body, and then the heat and everything. So lice literally developed underneath there, and they used to eat us and itch. And there's no way of removing, everything. So once they removed, you can see the crisscross of the rope with the dots from the lice wounds. These are the things I remember, and I don't forget. So what else?
So,
Sorry.
If I can, thank you so much. For me, it says a lot. It says so much that, well, first of all, thank you, as echoed by some of our audience. Thank you for sharing that really personal story with us. For me personally, it speaks volumes. The fact that you say this happened 40 plus years ago, and you still feel the pain, not physically, maybe, but you still remember the pain, and you still have emotional pain. And I'm emphasizing this to everyone, for us to remember that even just the ordeal doesn't start and stop on the day the girl is cut. Look what we're hearing. This thing follows you for decades. This is how serious, this is how harmful the practice is, and why we talk about it. And don't want people to get the wrong impression that, oh, this circumcision, it's kind of a clinical or medical thing. It isn't. I'm saying this for those who have not had the benefit of watching the mini series we did last year. I will post a link to the series so people can catch up. But reminding those of you who have watched and any new viewers that female genital mutilation, there is absolutely no medical grounds or justification or other justification for it, but no medical grounds. But look at the impact that this practice can have on one life. So thank you, Sister Maryam, for sharing that. What I was going to ask you is, what would you like to share about, so the impact that practice you underwent at age 6 has had on you as a woman, or entering womanhood and everything to your life to date?
I was coming to that. And also, how did I begin to question? How did I begin to question? Because FGM was not anything we questioned before. So when did I actually become this person who questions and who began to campaign, and maybe some of the challenges, some of the highs and the lows, and I think we can end there if you allow. So the biggest problem for me has been that cut, and the fact that until today, I do not know honestly the depth of that. What does it mean? Because when I'm this emotional, when I feel this pain still, there is definitely something that I need to deal with. And so I haven't begun that journey to deal with it. It's one of my to-do lists. I just need to really get over and see if I can heal. I don't know whether I can ever stop being emotional about it. But FGM, as we say, has both the immediate and the long term. And I think if you go back to the previous, you will be able to see. So the immediate, as you've seen, is that immense, horrendous, excruciating pain and the blood loss and you know, the risk to infections and you know, urine retention and everything we say because of the wound and all that pain. But later, now, as I began to get my periods, it was again a common thing. It was actually expected for a girl to have painful periods. And not just painful, because period cramps, even women who have not been cut get it. You know, period cramps, some people have dysmenorrhea, and the degree differs. Even those who have not gone through FGM definitely have, but those are like very few. But for us, this is now like this man-made, this practice that, you know, people have brought on us makes it very, very painful. So period doesn't come out easily, and because it doesn't come out easily and it collects in there, the next time, you know, like the clots, and when they are coming, it's like, I can only compare it to labor pain. So every month it's like you have labor pain. It's not coming out properly. You have this pain. So the period was very painful. And then I remember the thing that made me begin to question this practice was actually a conversation on that. Why is it that you guys have this period pains? This has, you know, so much. You even miss classes. I was at the university then. Until that moment, I had never gone back to what happened, never ever questioned, because it wasn't anything to question. For me, it's like the clothes you're wearing, like oxygen. It was like water you drink. Painful as it was, remembering whenever I smell blood and all this, but it's something that had to happen, you know. And that's why I tell you, I was looking forward. I wanted it to happen, you know, because you have to undergo it anyway. So you just have to prepare your mind that yes, I want this over and done with. So the period pain was the most painful thing for me. I've had urine retention. I still have issues with my urine. Like my daughter even asks me, "Mom, you take too long, so let me go fast," because I think of that. And I don't know whether a doctor would be able maybe to explain this better. Maybe if people look at the videos, they'll be able to know. Because of, I think that moment when there was the wound, and when your urine comes and then you hold it back because it is acid on the wound. It's like always there's that urine that remains, and I take long. Even now I take long. Going to pee, I take long. I can pee, and even if I come out, I'll still feel it's like I have not finished, because it's like there's this, I don't know what it's called, it's automatic, the bladder just closes up. I think I still have that shock maybe in me, and maybe if I as I said, I haven't gone through a journey to try and heal myself better. One of my to-do lists coming across the Atlantic is actually that, because as Najar will also tell you, and you can also attest, these are not issues we have. We don't have a lot of expertise to deal with this back home, and it's not something we pay a lot of attention to. So I have that. I have had problems with my sexual life. There was a time I wasn't, like, I was just there. And just there, not feeling anything, feeling less, nothing. until I took time to try and understand me, to try and know my body, to try and get to a point where I am able to know where how do I want and how do I like, and it's a journey. It is, and so you have to have a partner you're able to communicate with. You have to be able to say this. How many women are in that position? Because again, we know we're so disempowered, we're so voiceless when it comes to this issue. It's not for you. A decent woman doesn't ask it, doesn't show she wants it, doesn't request it, doesn't negotiate for it. You know, all these things, all this poison is in your head. So unless you have a good rapport with your partner, then it just becomes like you're just there, you're just doing it for children. So I have had those two periods in my life, and I know it's because of FGM and it's nothing else. So it has affected me in that way. I have had 2 episodes of getting cyst. Cyst is something like a boil. It's like a boil. It's very, very, very painful, and it comes out exactly from the point where the clitoris was cut off. So I haven't been able to go to a doctor and assess it and properly, like literally say it is. But because of dealing with this, the first time I got it, I thought it was a boil. Then the second time it came back from the same spot and in the same definition of what a cyst is, I now know I have a cyst. I am prone to getting that cyst. So these have been my very personal ordeals with FGM. I didn't have trouble with my giving birth because the trouble I had, and I don't know, maybe they are connected. Maybe Najar will be able to say, is my cervix wasn't opening, and maybe again it's because of that shock. So my cervix wasn't even opening, so I had to go through cesarean. My first son, I really went through a lot of through labor for 2 days, and I had blood pressure, and everything was just. So my daughter, I just decided to select it. So I don't know again whether it is related to that shock. Maybe I don't know if the research has been able to find out. But my cervix wasn't opening for when I was giving birth, and I had trouble to actually get my children. Because of the blood that was flowing back, my fallopian tubes were blocked, and I went through painful. What do they call it? I don't know. The flashing. Of course, I know it can also happen to someone who has not gone through FGM, but mine was FGM related. So I wasn't able to get pregnant for a long time and searching for a baby while not knowing. So going through all the process until it came to that, and yes, it did affect my fertility.
Wow.
I don't know that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Queen Najar, can I ask? Can you ask?
So
well,
much.
You're probably going to say what she asked you. I was going to ask you if you can actually speak about those complications she mentioned with the cervix not being able to open due to having undergone the practice.
Yes, what happens is that as with any cut on your skin, say for example, you cut your hand or you cut any part of your face, and this is a deep cut. What happens is that you get what is called scar tissue when the skin joins, and that scar tissue is very hard and fibrous skin, and it is also very it's not elastic, because our natural skin is elastic. And this when we talk about FGM, one of the things which I try to explain is simply this. Imagine if somebody took your mouth and your lips and cut them and stitched them. What would happen? You won't be able to eat. But also whatever forms over there is not natural, is not what has been given to you as a human being, as God. And we don't think about this regarding clitoris because we have this culture that we're not supposed to talk about our reproductive parts. So we're not even allowed to say the names of the reproductive parts in our languages. And when we put a taboo on what are called our reproductive parts, and we cannot talk about them, it means that we cannot explain what is going on down there. So what is going on in our reproductive parts when we are cut is that the skin is no longer elastic. Now, the reason why we were made with a clitoris and with the labia minora and majora is specifically for reproduction. Reproduction is giving birth, okay? We are producing ourselves, little mini me, mini you. And in a woman, the baby comes out of the reproductive area, which is the vagina. And the whole of the vagina muscle starts from the clitoris and goes right all the way in to the pelvic bone. To the pelvic bone. Okay. Now, when you cut off the clitoris itself, or when you cut off the labia minora and the labia majora, elastication ceases. That space is no longer elastic. What you also do is that you cut the nerve endings. You cut them. And these nerve endings are there for a reason. They're supposed to accept messages from the womb when the baby is due, and then they're supposed to open. It's kind of like how when you're eating, your brain tells your mouth, open because spoon is coming or hand is coming. Mm-hmm. So you open. Now, what about if you cut off that part, okay, of the mouth where you cannot open your mouth and you have lockjaw? Even if you put the food there, there's nowhere for the food to go in. So the same thing happens in reverse when the clitoris and the labia minora and majora are cut. There are no messages which are received that they're supposed to open. And anyway, what do you open? Because they've been sewn together. They've been sewn together. So that is why women who have undergone FGM, that is why they have such a hard time opening, because there's nothing to open. It's been cut off and thrown away. And it is not the woman's fault. The other reason why she feels so much pain during periods is because they're supposed to be an open flow. It's not supposed to collect. So once there's no place for collection. So this stitching up, what it does is it closes, and therefore when the periods stay at the base, okay, it's like something pressing, and the period can't come out, and that gives pain to the whole pelvic area, as is the same with the urine, because it's supposed to flow out freely. It's also being blocked again. And like you said, there's this at the beginning, and this is for 6-year-old children. So at the beginning, what happens is that your body becomes sensitive to it. It sends this message back and forth. Urine means pain. Urine means pain. I don't want pain, so I am not going to urinate. And what happens is that it goes backwards, and you can also get kidney problems, bladder problems, and pain problems, which are associated to the bladder, to your kidneys, okay, and to the whole pelvic area. And all these are just some of the physical trauma which comes from the cutting. So yes, Maryam, to answer your questions, all your health issues come from FGM, and the mental as well, because I have spoken to so many girls, as you know, as you have as well, and you know, there's this fear which comes up about FGM, which is associated with the pain and with the trauma and with the negativity regarding our own bodies. So there's a lot which happens from this one act that our societies don't think about, and it continues for life, and it also continues in the genes of the children that the woman bear thereafter. This pain is passed on, and it is what is called generational trauma.
Thank you very much. Yeah. I think Angela, my story is only just began. So this was just about the ordeal and what I went through. What was even more painful for me is the realization that what I went through is wrong and it needs to end. That I think has been the most painful journey that I have been on, and I'm still on. And so maybe we'll have to do that another time. I think our time is up. So I would like us to do that again. How did I get to this? Because whenever I talk about female genital mutilation and abandonment, my people think I am agent from the West. I am just pretending and I'm this and that. So it's been the most painful thing. Apart from being cut, you can imagine knowing what you went through and how bad it is, and you want for it to end so badly. It's been the most challenging thing I think I had to face, and I'm still on that journey.
Thank you, Sister Queen Maryam. I've just pulled up this question only because it's directly related to what you are saying in terms of practices that seem to be normalized in various communities. So they're not, but this one is talking about elongation of the clitoris, but it being practiced in multiple communities, not being talked about or discouraged. And the question being why? And I mean, how I would respond to that, having heard of Sister Maryam's question, is what she just said. She was not brought up to know that it was wrong. It was her normal. It is explained as normal for many people. And that's why there's another form of trauma, like she explained, when you then learn that something has been done to you that really shouldn't have been done to you. That's another whole ordeal I cannot imagine. So yeah, people are not going to talk about or discourage things that they think either is normal or it's been happening for so long that it's just the way that it is. And one of the things that we clearly want to communicate on this platform is that, apart from the fact that this practice must stop and is stopping, just because something has been practiced for a very, very long time, it doesn't justify its continuation. The world keeps changing. There's a difference between, yes, I guess, what our true traditions are. And we've learned, or at least we learned last year, that female genital mutilation, it's not a practice that started with us Africans. It was a foreign practice that was given to us or imposed upon us. So it's not really ours. That's something we can give back. But for us to remember that, yes, just because it has happened for so long, it doesn't mean it should continue. And I just emphasize again, like Sister Maryam said, so many people do not know that it is wrong. It is harmful, not just for the day, for the week, for the month. We're talking decades later, there's impacts. So I will just allow my sisters to give their closing messages because time is up. And I thank everybody for joining us. Queen Najar, anything parting message for the viewers?
I just want to say that this is a journey that we are going to be doing, like I had said earlier. This is a journey that we are going to be on every single day and every single week for the rest of this year. So this is just a starting point. We are not talking about this for 5 minutes and then we are going to drop it. So I would like to ask all viewers to continue joining us. It's every Tuesday, Angela? It's every Tuesday, at this time. Yeah, at this time. And get in touch with us as well. If you have a story, especially women, we want to get in touch with us and leave your details. You can leave your details. And we hear your stories as well, because we want to blow this wide open and say, as African women, we're not taking this nonsense anymore. Okay? These are our parts, and we are not going to do this to our children. Maryam was 6 years old. 6. 1, 2, 3. This is, we go to school when we're how old? When we're 7. And we need to teach our sisters across the continent. We need to teach our mothers. We need to teach our daughters that FGM, the M stands for mutilation. And we need to stop this. And we need to understand it, understand that it is not a good practice, and that it ruins the reproductive organs in the same way that castration for men ruins them completely, and they are unable to enjoy sex, feel anything, have children. And it is the same thing that FGM is. They cannot enjoy sex, they cannot reproduce, and they are in constant pain. So we need to talk about this, and I'm so excited. This is just the first show. I'm very, very excited. Very.
Thank you very much, Queen Najar. Queen Maryam?
Thank you very much, and thank you everyone for joining. As I said, I just gave the tip. When FGM was done to me, I was very young. And even though I said I was looking forward, that is just what we call indoctrination. I look at my daughter and look at how much she trusts me. She's 10 years old, and how much she believes in what I tell her. And sometimes I get anxiety. I freak out imagining convincing her, holding her beautiful cheeks and telling her, you will just undergo this, you will only feel pain and it will be over. I did it, my mother did, her grandmother. And you can imagine her looking up at you, fearing the pain bit, but not knowing how painful it is, and nodding her head because she believes in you.
Yeah.
That was me. And that is very many other girls to date. We talk of 3.9 million girls being cut annually. That's not a mean number. That isn't that. I don't know what kind of pandemic or endemic also gets that kind of a number annually. And the world still scatters around this. The world still wants to continue saying, oh, you know, it's their culture. Oh, you know, we cannot interfere. Oh, you know, we cannot talk for them. Oh, you know, we don't want to impose. What is it that you are imposing? Child protection is everybody's responsibility. Doesn't matter whether that child is yours or not. And anyone who is listening here today, remember, there's a reason why you came to this talk show today.
Yes.
It is because you have to be able to take up that responsibility. Things don't happen by chance. You are brought to this show so that you take up that one responsibility and be able to reach the next girl that you can. Pay attention to your family, to your neighbors. I have the biggest challenge from my family, my own family. I have the biggest challenge. And when my book is out, you guys will be able to read. The trauma did not end when I was 6 years old. That trauma is still here with me. It's one of the most painful things, as I said, I have to face as a survivor. Every time somebody makes a joke, somebody tries to belittle, somebody tries to insinuate that they don't want to, interfere like academics do. Academicians have done a huge disservice to this practice. They touch that invisible pain. My pain has not healed. It's still there. We have to save the next girl. No other girl has to face what I faced. Why? Of what benefit is it? Why should children be punished to that level? I think everybody here today, you just need to understand. The brother who was asking about the elongation, please, if you come from any of those communities or you work among them, talk about it, stop it, begin with your own family. Begin doing something about it. You have a responsibility also. This is about child protection. This is child abuse. And as a survivor, I can tell you that there are times I had to go for pap smear, but I had to prepare the doctor because the doctor I was dealing with maybe has never ever seen a woman who was cut. How much more exposure or more painful can it get for you to begin to explain your genitalia before you even open it up? So every time you are talking about your vagina, it has just become like a song, and people think you're doing it for the love of it. It's because you have no shame. No, because pain does not end. It has not ended. 43 plus years. I'm 49. It has not ended, and it's not going to end. But I want it to end with me. My daughter is not cut. That I want it to end with me. So for her, it has ended with me. But how many other girls are crying today? If 3.9 is annual, do the math and see how many are crying today from all corners of the world in 92 countries. Please, guys, we have to wake up, people. We have to open our eyes. We are bringing up a society of hurt girls and hurt women. And by extension, we are hurting generations and generations. Because when you are broken, then what? How can you bring up another hole? So this is why we talk about this. Last October, I just had a personal campaign on my Facebook to lift the veil on the clitoris and call it its name in my community. It's called Kintir. Najar can bear me witness, and Angela, those who are with me on that fest, you know the bashing I have been getting. You know the bashing still goes on. The good thing is it has opened space, and I was invited to a page that used to talk about politics and nothing else. I was invited, a page that has 150,000 people from my backyard, and I just shared this story. I didn't even go to anything. I told them I did not drop from the sky. I was a girl from this community. I believed in FGM at one time. But what made me begin to change? And when I shared that journey, the noise went down, because that's real. That's my struggle. I still struggle with it, because I'm struggling with my own family. So Najar, I want to end it there, Angela, and say the next Tuesday I come is, how did I get to the point where I am, where I have said no to FGM? It's been a journey, a painful one, but I'm still on it and strong. So if you see my tears, these are very mixed tears. I am very happy with the little efforts that we have made, the little progress we have made, but I'm also pained that a young girl might face the thing I faced today, and not just one, many of them, millions of them. Please, guys, wake up. Let's stop FGM. FGM has to end. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Maryam. Maybe I can ask you after, one of the guests has asked if you can share the link. I think she means the link maybe to the group that you spoke about. But any information that you have that you think will be useful for me to share, if you let me have that, and I will post it on the page. To repeat,
that was in Somali, sorry, but that was in Somali language, so I don't know how many people speak Somali language here, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay,
yeah,
we'll see.
I think it's okay, because I know that there are a lot of women who, Somali-speaking women, who are listening in, and maybe some of them are a little bit shy, but it would be good to have the link so that they can still go and watch it.
Yeah.
Even if they have to hide, but it will be a good space for them to be able to click down below and to watch you, because there are so many who call me, Maryam, so many Somali girls who call me and say, this is madness, and we can't even talk about it, because when we talk about it, the minute we talk about it, we're ostracized. Or we are told, oh, you are not a good Muslim, or you are told, no, you're not a good girl, or
you're looking for money.
Yeah,
you're looking for funding.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Right?
So please do share that link with us, Maryam. I know a lot of us will go and will listen to that. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I thank everybody for tuning in today, for your questions, for your comments. As you heard, this is not something that is stopping here. We'll be here every Tuesday, usually every Tuesday for the year. And if you if you are a woman with a story about FGM, it may not necessarily be that you have undergone FGM, but speak about it in your community, because we do also want to help others in different communities, different countries, speak about what happens there that nobody else is speaking about. Be you in Nigeria, the Gambia, Zambia, Zimbabwe, wherever you are, do message us. If you don't want to drop your details, do send us a message, and that will reach us, and then we can arrange to hear you. Because the more of you that reach in, then maybe you're not connected in your own community, but so maybe we can connect you and provide a voice, a space for you to share what it is that you are experiencing. So thanks again to Najar and Maryam for joining me today. And thanks to everyone else for joining us. Back next week, Tuesday, 1 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. East African time. Thank you again. And please do share this video with at least one woman in your life, at least one. Thank you. Until next time.